Hello and welcome again to Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods Start Here series, lesson number 5, the big chart. And the big chart is this. Here is an old version from another lesson I gave that's now buried on my channel. I want it here in the Start Here series, so let's make this again. What it is a line by line series of music theory ideas that you can use to correlate with each other if something stops making sense to you or if you get confused anywhere. What I'm not going to do is take time to really explain the usefulness of each line. I'll leave that up to separate videos in the future. So let's just make the chart here today. And this is what you want to do first. We want our first line to indicate basically all the notes from 1 to 12 because we use a 12-tone music system. So let's get that written down. All right, 1 through 12. Next, what we'll want to do is, so let's put the note names down there, and we're going to start with C. See my last video for why we would start with C and not A. And because most music theory will use the key of C, the major scale, so we're going to start with C. And now we need some sharps and flats in there, and to signify those really easy, we're just going to use a line with both notes in there, and we can know that the top note is the sharp note and the bottom note is the flat note. So helpful if I write the correct notes in there. So we want C ahead of C and behind D. So C sharp, D flat. We'll get a D, E. We know there's no sharp and flat between E and F. We got G, A, B, and that goes back to C. So we can see how we end at 12 there. So we're going to make a line there, line there, line there, right? And then you can just copy down your note names, D and E, F and G, G and A and B. And you've quickly got all your sharp and flat notes. At times I've liked to color these in, shade them in, to represent the dark keys on the piano, but what we're going to do is actually create a piano key down below. So let's do something else. Let's go with let's put the intervals down next. We start with a root. The next interval is a flat 2. Doesn't have to be this note name. This was just an example starting point. This always changes. This is static and this is static. The third note in is a regular 2, your second. You have a flat third and a regular third. It might help if you draw your flat notes or flat numbers a little bit smaller than your regular numbers, just to give it a little bit more quick visual identity. Flat fifth, fifth. The fifth is so strong, it's got 3 intervals associated with it. That sharp fifth could, in theory, in some instances, be a flat 6, but we're not going to worry about that today. Now we have our last 2 denoted by the 7th, a flat 7th and a major 7th, and that's more like it. Like a little B for flat, the smaller 7, and your regular 7ths. When you hear flat 7th, when you're dealing with dominant chords, you'll know what they're talking about, which note they're talking about. So next we could go for, let's say, the major scale sing-along is what we'll call this. I think we call this the phonetic spelling of the major scale. And of course, if you're wondering where do is back to the 1. Easy, right? Great. Okay, hopefully the shading isn't too bad here. What I think I'm going to try to do is zoom this in just a touch. There we go. Okay. So we've got all that. Might be a good time now to get our piano keyboard in focus. So we're going to draw no straight edge. Look at that. We're going to go here. And then I'm just going to shade in this note. I'm going to shade in every note that doesn't have a And then you can see how the piano keyboard matches up and why they consider this part of the piano keyboard the key of C. Let's put that in the right on the piano keys there. C, D, E. I'll make a line there to denote that note there. F, G, A, and B. So you have C, D, E, and F, G, A, B. This is going to take up a little extra space, but we're going to call this the group of 3, and we're going to call this the 4. That comes up when we learn a guitar scale on a single string on the guitar. You can see the 3 and the 4 come up there, and that 3 and the 4 come up a lot in different places, so stay tuned for that. I think you know about the 1 through 12 there, so that's going to go off the screen here while we get a little bit more room for some lower lines here. So let's just give these intervals a name. This will be different from our 1 through 12 notes. When it comes to keys, you will often hear the notes of the key given a name, like starting on the 2, or starting on the 3, starting on the 4, or starting on the 5th. In this example, it's G. Whatever notes you line up with your key. Okay, so as you can see here, if it had this note, it would be a flat 7. If it had this note, it would be a sharp 5th. And if it had this note, it would be a flat 5th. Your flat 5th is between your 4th and your 5th. So it would be the F sharp in the key of C. See how all that can correlate with each other? Okay, let's move on with this. You'll often hear these things as Roman numerals, so it might be helpful to put those in here in case you ever see Roman numerals attached to those. But now you can copy that down. Here's some more information you may want to know. This is a major. This is a minor, the smaller M for minor, larger M for major, major, minor, minor, major, dominant 7, which is also major, so we write it big, and then the minor 6, and then the diminished, so we're just going to put dim here for diminished. And then you got a chord explanation here, which you can write this in front here. You can write 12 notes here. You can write note names, intervals, major scale, sing-along, piano keyboard, note numbers, Roman numerals, chord structure. Like, I could get lost in detailing the explanation about why is that major, why is that minor, but that would make this lesson a little bit too intense and involved. We've got the final one we're going to do today. There's probably some more we could do, like a real deep composer's code I could give you, but I'm going to save that as a special video. IDPLMA, L, which we went over in the last video, and we know to put this LX here for Locrian. This is your Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. And that pretty much does it for the chart that we want to go over today. And then what I think you could do, though, is make yourself a square here. I could fill this in with any of this information. What I think I'm going to do is use the mode names here just to show you which goes with what. And I think what we're going to do as well is give it a color code here. So for example, I'm going to color in the I here is green. So where we start on green, right? So the reason I'm doing this is to show you that this never changes. On a guitar fretboard, this is going to be the fretboard code. This could be at the bottom of the list, but we ran out of room, so I'm putting it on the side. You might want to write next to this fretboard code. On the guitar fretboard, this chart manifests itself in this box like this, and this never changes. Like, for example, these modes will never change. However, these numbers would never change. I could even use these, which I think I might even do. But this will change. So all these are static, but the note names are dynamic, and that's where a lot of the confusion about your guitar comes in. But that changes by sliding this system up and down the fretboard. You don't really have to think about it. Just like, for example, if you want to be in the key of C, you put your C in this green, put whatever note you want to be in, whatever scale you want to be in. That is the one of the major scale. So if you wanted to be in the key of G, you would put the G here. If you wanted to be in the key of D, you'd put the D here. So whatever, in this instance, it's the C, but we're going to also use this. We're going to go right here with our numbers. I think that'll make it easiest. So let's put a 1 in there. And let's fill this out easy. We got 2. Here's a little secret. 2 is repeated here. That's the same as when you tune your guitar at the 5th fret. So if that was an open string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So A and A, like if that was the low E string, and that was the 5th fret, you'd have an A ringing out with the open A to tune your guitar. So we have 2. That stands to reason that there's 3, 4, 5. Watch this. 6 and 7 back to the 1. So it's really all you need. You can color these in if you want to give them maybe I think it's called a mnemonic understanding, where you have colors help you, maybe especially if you're one of those person who kind of sees tones as a color, that could help you. I'm not going to do that today, just to keep this under 15 minutes if we can. So be sure to write down this chart. If you get lost in any of our lessons, this one will be one of the most handy references to know if I'm talking intervals, and then I mention Lydian, the 4th is Lydian, you're like, a 4 is Lydian? Well, what is a 5, and why is it Mixolydian? You can come back here and see how it lines up, and why would I say in the key of C that G is Mixolydian, and why would I say that in the key of C, F is Lydian, right? And then you can just say, oh yeah, they're talking about the 2. What was that again? Oh yeah, that's Dorian. 1, 2, Dorian. So it makes sense? Okay, we'll hopefully that clears some things up. Ask any questions below if you are stuck on anything, and we'll clarify in future lessons. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Oh, and next lesson, I think we'll go over what is a key. Stay tuned.